All right, returning once again for now, Game 4, DFM 2, V3 1. So, as we look back at the wake of the last game, well, the gold graph and the damage on Aphelios should tell you most of the story of how this game went. Now, the thing that interests me the most going into this next game is how the pick bans go for the side of V3 Esports. You've been banning away Heimer, Set, Renekton, all three games of this series so far, and only now has Detonation Focus Me opted into the Aphelios, and not only did they opt into it, but when they did, it ended up being everything. Obviously, you know, you can't rely on Archer to make the same mistakes over and over again, but two games now have kind of been a little bit to his own detriment, whether he's playing on tilt or whether it's just a rough day, whatever it may be. You have to kind of consider these things. And so for V3 Esports' bans, why I think it gets really interesting is, what is worse, the devil you know or the devil you don't? Is giving over the Renekton and the Heimer or the Set, giving away one of those options, is that better or worse than the Aphelios that DFM have a high win rate on, that they're very comfortable playing, that Udapon has really been commanding with, both this series, the Sengoku series, and most of the entire split. Don't have his stats on hand at the moment for his win rate on Aphelios, but I know it is a priority pick for him and for his team as a whole. Aladios is definitely one of those hotly contested champions, and for good reason. But on the side of V3 Esports, where are you going to give? Are you going to give them over Aphelios again? Are you willing to make some adjustments and play better? Or do you need to take that off the table and risk one of these other three picks that you've been taking out going over? Are you okay with giving them Heimerdinger? Are you okay with giving them Set or Renekton? Personally, it can be rather difficult to hand over Set or Renekton. I understand, understandably so, is both of them are very good Bork abusers, insanely difficult to lane against, and can really take a lot out of the top lane. So you sort of look to Heimerdinger by default as something you can let through. It doesn't work with every comp, but laning into it's going to be annoying. It's very difficult to gank. And if V3 end up kind of drafting a full defensive comp around it, they're going to be insanely hard to siege down. But maybe, or excuse me, DFM, if they dropped into it, will be able to play very defensively. The option available to V3 Esports is drafting into a poke comp and seeing if you can out poke just from range and not let the Heimerdinger get any value when you're shooting arrows. You're using Zoe trouble bubbles from afar. That option is of course on the table for the side of V3 Esports, but perhaps not exactly something they're comfortable with or something that they've practiced very much, so it remains to be seen. Although for now, Blues are Red side has all the win rate right now, as all three wins so far have been on the red side, so if there is a pattern, V3 Esports should be able to take this game, being on the red side going into this one.
まあ決してそのメタじゃないチャンピオンじゃなくてむしろメタのチャンピオンであるんですけど、現選手カルマのようなチャンピオンを使うよりもこういった攻撃的なピックの方がやっぱ強いよねっていうのがまた明らかになったポイントでもあるので。
But the thing that stands out to me the most is do not put Reina on Yumi duty. His thresh was instrumental to the win in game 2. Putting him on Yumi seems to put too much pressure onto Archer to perform, and he is not able to hold up. You gave him pretty much as many tools as you could possibly give, outside of having a support that can peel instead of just be, you know, a sort of battery pack style enabler. But it's still not enough to keep Archer from playing a bit too far in the faces of the side of DFM. So when you watch these kinds of plays, it's rough for sure, but the same thing sort of persists. Is Archer really needs to be able to bounce back from this one. Mentally, he needs to be still in focus, he needs to be sharp, and he needs to be able to bounce back. And perhaps maybe it really is, you know, he can't play this side. You know, he had mistakes in game 1, in game 3 it was just a complete wash, it was a GG go next. Game 2 he was looking solid, so whatever it may be, well, they'll need to figure it out. And the other thing now that I'm thinking about it, is in game 2, the Graves was instrumental as well, was dealing a ton of damage. And it's that same idea of you cannot put the solo carry hands into Archer. He just currently cannot handle the pressure. He's cracking a little bit at the seams. You need to be able to move forward. You need to be able to have a comp that can operate sufficiently without having to have him all in. Too many eggs in one basket is kind of what ended up selling V3 down the river in that game.
改めて振り返っていかがですか。そうですね、本当にそのボットレーン付近での少数戦でほぼ決まったなというような試合ではあったんですけれども、そのデトネーションフォーカスミがやってきた縦割りに対して対応しきれなかった。ただ2度目は V3 スポーツとしてもしっかりと対応できるというところではあると思うので、この4戦目で
Still going strong though. We'll load into the pick bands one more time. The question will be, how are things going to change up? Are V3 Esports going to even possibly pass over the Aphelios once more? Is that something you're comfortable with? But DFM banning the Yumi is a great sign if you are V3. You do want to see that kind of a thing, because keeping Reina off of it and absorbing a ban slot is a great sign for DFM. And they also ban away the Varus V3 with their last ban. Patterns would reveal it to be Renekton, but they ban away the Graves instead. And this is a little bit interesting, is now you're not only opening Graves up, but you're taking away the Graves, or you're leaving Renekton open, but you're taking away the Graves option from your own. And I have to say, I immediately disagree. DFM hard locking in the Trundle on a blind. V3, of course, picked the Ornn into it, but DFM a bit of priority onto the Trundle very early on, as V3 will respond with the Trundle Aphelios. And now, DFM, you've had your carry taken out from under you. The one that led you to victory in that last game. What will your answer be going forward? Gnar can be picked up here into pause. Was a safe lane, was a neutral lane for the most part. Now they look up their next pick. Looks like it will be the Misfortune, and from V3, I would love to see a support pickup from this position. Drafting into a Thresh, a Nautilus, something like that, giving Reyna that capability back would be ideal, as he did make do a lot with that agency. And it will be the Thresh locked in for V3 Esports, and that's a good sign of things to come. Hopefully, at least for V3. The second wave of bans come in. A lot of mid lane bans can be thrown out here, but it's a little bit of a harrowing route for V3, as they will opt towards the support bans, and understandably so, as Seros champion pool rather deep. We did see a bit of it already in this series with the Xerath pickup early on. So banning away the supports is the more guaranteed position, especially banning away the Braum right away. Well, DFM can try to pinch Ace's champion pool a bit. Evelyn. Evelyn is a little bit of an interesting one. Has been picking up quite a large win rate in solo queue around this time. Don't know about her performances in pro play necessarily, but either way, DFM will not have to figure out whether the Evelyn is a pro play pick or not, as they'll just take that one off the table right away. Nautilus also being banned away is a great pickup for V3, as LeBlanc being the last ban. V3 Esports now can look at either mid or jungle, and most likely will be the jungle pickup on this R4. Save the mid lane pickup for a counter pick possibly, unless of course you want to highlight the Zoe right away. But it will be Rek'Sai picked up here. Boogie going to be highlighting that one once more. Now DFM has to blind pick a mid here alongside a support. The question will be, what will they grab? As far as the more tanky supports are concerned, there aren't a whole lot of options left for them. But DFM hovering over an Azir pickup, and they will lock in the Azir, and I do like to see that. I have been talking that Azir is criminally underrepresented in the LJL. And speaking of tanky support options, Taric is a great one to pick up, enables your team fight so well. And this is going to be one of the longer ones for sure, as both teams drafting into these late game team fighty kind of carries. Now V3, looking at the Zoe here, doesn't exactly fit in with the team fighting aspect, but does have a lot of one-shot potential. And they did like the zoning from it last time, but the Zillion mid locked in by Ace. Now this is a bit interesting. Does kind of present more carry opportunity for Archer, which I had criticized just before, but this time you have Reyna on Thresh to open up that route. They're hard playing around Archer here, so you have two strikes so far, Archer. One more strike, and unfortunately, it will mean that you're out of the tournament now. But one good hit earlier, and going to need a repeat performance on this one if they want to make it through to that game 5. As we kind of look across where we expect this game to go, I do expect somewhat of a stagnant early game. not a whole lot of team fighting can really come about just due to it's going to take a little while for these carries to get online. The sort of inverse, or the sort of worrying point for me, at least for V3 Esports, is we have seen whether they have late game carries or early game carries, they are well and focused on objectives. They are willing to rotate their entire team up for Barons. That presents a lot of risk in a game like this, when you know that by the time first Rift Herald is up, you would be lucky to have an Aphelios at one item, let alone, you know, ready for a team fight. He just will not be by the time the first Rift Herald is spawned. So if V3 Esports has a repeat performance as some of their less than desirable objective plays, it's one of those games that can get out of their hands very quickly. Alternatively, it could go the same way for V3 Esports. So the early objective plays are going to be very, very important. And if they go through without a hitch, it doesn't really matter which team gets a lot of those early Drakes or early Rift Heralds, because by the time the sole objective is starting to rear its head, these carries will start to be a lot more online, and the team fights will really come down to which team is executing better. When it comes to a team fight versus team fight style comp, I do have to admit, I'm favoring DFM in this one. Archer has just not been playing to par, and on top of that, they do have the double carry setup. Alternatively, V3 Esports has a much better front line, and if it is going to come down to a front to back, and Aphelios just starts shredding through these half tanks that like Nar and like Taric, where they're not exactly tanks, they just kind of can frontline. That's their option. But with the Taric pickup, they are all into that team fighting comp. That is how they plan to win the game. So we'll have to see how they end up executing upon that. And the other thing that kind of comes out in this game is, with the Zilean mid pickup, how do I... The Zilean mid pickup, of course, does work as you obviously want to keep Archer safe. You want to be able to use ultimates on him. However, it feels a bit questionable, and I'll get into that in a moment.
LJL 2020スプリングスプリットプレーオフラウンド3ゲーム4デトネーションフォーカスミー vs V3 Esports スタートです。
So the thing that sort of begins to stand out to me as far as the Zilean pickup here is, of course, Zilean, fairly safe laner, decent poke, presents an ultimate ability, or an ultimate to allow Boogie to go deep on dives. The thing that begins to sort of bother me is that that doesn't sit well with me, is you are Boogie and you can send him deep into the backline, great. But then you can't really have R for Archer, because you can't really hold the ultimate for that. Because if Archer goes down, in the time it takes for him to respawn, the fight is going to be over. He is the only damage carry on your side. So, while the Zilean pickup is good, it doesn't exactly make the best use out of the tanky frontline that they've drafted themselves into. So, a little bit interesting. I'm not entirely sure what you would end up replacing this with. Possibly a Victor to help just later in this game nuke out some of the front, even some of the front line at that point, as you'll make Steel have to opt into a little bit more magic resist than he otherwise would. But that being said, we'll have to see how this all ends up playing out. For now, junglers pathing towards the opposite ends of the map here. Both of them going buff to buff. Excuse me. Okay, there we go. We're alive. Excuse me. Okay, so we kind of just will enjoy a lot of this, actually, for the most part. There's just going to be a decent amount of farming. There is not a whole lot to be done. It is really the story of how this game is going to go for the most part. A lot of farming. Until really Boogie is going to be the one that wants to get first involved. We had seen in every game so far, Archer taking a bit of damage there, but not exactly kill pressure there by any means. Especially with the double defensive summoners on the side of DFM. But we have seen in I believe all 3 games, Steel was the first one to blow flashes on mid, getting good ganks off there. Now, I would sort of expect Boogie to be the one who wants to be on this map early enough to make a difference, as any little sway can start a really big snowball effect. Boogie's going to walk across a ward here, figure out that something is amiss in his jungle at the moment. As he makes his way up towards his Krugs, he might have an idea of where Steel is. The question is, will he be able to catch him? He opts not to. Instead, going to clear away the one chicken and wait for that camp to respawn. Ace taking the time to go over and ward on the side of DFM's jungle. Possibly Boogie can look for an invade. The decent amount of vision set up for him, and it looks like that will be the call. Is going to be able to pick up the chicken camp and get an extra or a little extra help from the Zillion in the mid lane, but Steel looking for an opportunity on this bot lane. The stun is good. The lantern will pull him out for now, as the vision cone will spot out Steel. Boogie might be looking for something here, but Saros will be first to rotate, so Boogie smartly avoiding that one. We'll go ahead and take a back here, as we enjoy a bit of an early on lull state, as it were, as Infernal Drake is first to spawn. It looks like Steel will be able to burn that one down before Boogie is in range to contest, as we'll go over to the bot lane of DFM. Archer did get a back off in that time, so we'll have time to shove in the lane against Utapon. So it looks like Sarah's going for a bit of action on the Ace, but Eyes going onto the bot lane as well, as Boogie is also looking for a play down there. Trying to see if he can come over the wall here. Don't know if he knows that Steel is there. Both of them looking for an opportunity. Boogie's going to find Steel first. He's running right past him, though. Flashes over to get onto Gang, as he will go very low. But it'll be Gang who actually, or Utapon who actually picks up the first kill there. Now Ace is forced to flash away, using the ultimate on Boogie. Ends up losing 2, losing 3, as Saros outlasts. The ultimate disaster hits for the side of V3 Esports. the play just went so wrong so quickly. They want to all in Udapon as soon as possible, but the double defensive summoners make that just a bit too difficult. Udapon lives long enough to get the Triumph proc in, and then at that point you're scrambling to kill the member that should have died well before. Reyna flashes forward, tries to get a hook on, they all in onto Gang, and in the meantime Udapon just free fires there. A great shuffle from Seros to knock the members back as he will finish off Ace and can stand idly by and wait for Boogie to lose the Zilean ultimate. That is about as bad as things have gone for V3 Esports considering how the last game went, and as it seems right now, it looks like V3 might be struggling a bit in this series. The wind seems to be out of their sails, and DFM have been picking up ever since.
V3 スポーツとしては、エースの使うジリアの得意としている、少数戦、集団戦というところを行っていったわけですけれども、デトネーションフォーカスミのカウンターが機能した形になります。
The nice thing, of course, is that Archer was the one who was able to pick up the kill, so gold going where you need it to on the side of V3 Esports. The unfortunate side is that the same seems to ring true for the side of DFM, with Seros being 2-0-1 already. And now, with Steel at level 6 already, he can kind of walk around as he pleases. Does have to worry about Zilean roaming to help out, but it looks like the mid lane, the buff transfer will go over to Ace in the mid lane here, as Archer will do his best to just keep farming for now. Gang landing another great stun. Archer just barely not dodging these stuns and eating a lot of damage for it. Boogie staying around in case there's an opportunity here, but it's so difficult to engage on DFM's bot lane at this point now with the Cosmic Radiance able to come in. You have your ultimates, you have your team fight tools. And this is sort of unfortunate for V3 as well, is that the Zilean ultimate is really only as effective as your team is ahead. Rezzing someone just to die twice is not exactly the best option when you have none of the control of the pace of the game. Evi going to nab up a turret plate, dodge out on the stun or dodge out on the knock-up and land a stun of his own. DFM now with a Rift Herald in their pockets, looking around this top lane. Might just spawn it up for turret pressure, but it looks like they're going all in onto pause. The ultimate is down. It looks like the dive is clean, but Steel is actually going to go down. Rek'Sai going to pick up that kill. It took a little bit too long getting out of the turret range, but not much to be done. Did have flash available, and possibly could have flashed, but maybe realized it just a little bit too late. And this is the unfortunate part for Reyna, is that with the Taric, while you can drag him in, he can queue up a stun to make sure that you can't all-in him very easily, and can buy enough time to make sure that the ultimate gets value. Seros looking down there for a play, but not finding anything is not a bad idea to look for, but ultimately does not lose a whole lot either, so. And it looks like DFM are just going to start up the Ocean Drake right away. Unfortunately, of course, when you have this early game pressure, Ocean and Infernal are not the first two Drakes you want to see typically, but that isn't to say that they have the worst ulti users in the game. Trundle and Trundle and Turek, both decent users of the Cloud Soul ultimate, but really the ult CDR is what's going to matter most, specifically to Gang and Steel, who you'll be able to use that more frequently on the Ornn to make sure he's less tanky and easier to drop, as well as have the Cosmic Radiance up more often, that if you end up using it and, you know, V3 are able to back out safely, you have it available again the next time you need it. So the ult CDR will be something to consider moving forward. And luckily for V3 Esports, it looks like they've stemmed the bleeding early. Last time, it just all poured out. There was nothing to be done. This time, it looks like V3 Esports have kind of figured things out, as DFM are looking towards this bottom lane now. Steel really just trying to control as much of this bottom side of the map as he can. Recognizes that his bot lane is in a winning position and just needs to secure a side of the map for him to play around.
次も慌ててボットレーンサイド視界をクリアしていきます。
Boogie might be in a little bit of trouble here as Steel's going down onto him. He did not use the subjugate yet, but a good shuffle from Seros will knock Ace into the loving arms of a few DFM members, as Udapon will be able to pick up that kill. And this is not a game you want to see if you're V3 Esports. This is looking like a PG version of what happened in game 3 there. Death sentence goes out from Reyna, but not going to find anyone just yet as Rift Herald spawned up here. They will try to knock down an early mid turret here. Charges in, but will it buy them enough time to knock down the turret? No, and in the greed, Boogie goes all in onto Seros. Void Rush not needed, as he's pulled out to safety by the Lantern. Bullet Time going to deal a little bit of damage, a lot to Reyna. Could not find his way out of the Bullet Time in time. But a good shutdown given over to Boogie for dropping Seros there. And good patience on that play, specifically by Boogie. Recognize that they're going to walk up to try and finish off the turret after the first charge. Good punish from him, and Seros finds himself in Fountain at the end of all that. Unfortunately, still in a commanding position is DFM in this game, and likely will be for some time unless they're able to capitalize off of a few more plays like that.
やはりマッチアップ上の有利というのもありますからかなり苦しそうですね。このレベルまでなってくると何の射程も伸びてますから、オンが QE のバーストから取っていくというのもかなり難しいですからね。ファームの差というのも着実に開いています。
And it looks like Seros wandering up here to try and get some other vision down here. Boogie waiting in the wings. Trying to see if he can find any free engages, but it looks like DFM are onto him as Gang walking forward finds a stun onto Reyna, but nothing that can be capitalized off of. Do apologize if I'm losing my voice slightly. It is about 5 a.m. We've been going for nearly 5 hours now, so I'm starting to feel the strain on it. But we'll be staying strong for now, and hopefully V3 will as well if they want to keep a chance up in this game. Speaking of which, DFM looking for a bit of action onto this bot lane. Cosmic Radiance is alive, but the TP is coming in. Call of the Forge God is through. Gang needs to use the ultimate and use it soon, but looks like Udapon might just be going down here. He finds a kill. A great turnaround from Udapon as now he has a teleport to play around. Gang with the heal as well is barely going to go down in the end. Pause having to go all in on that one with burning his flash as well, but only to make it go 1 for 3. DFM may be looking to make my predictions come alive as they are now in a 4K gold lead, putting themselves on soul point early on here. They can also rotate right across to mid lane, grab that turret, then look at the Rift Herald. The world is their oyster now. We'll watch this one more time, as watching Udapon is really all that's needed right now, as Gang backing out here. Udapon and Gang both eating the Moonlight Vigil. The ult comes in, and Udapon decides to go in, not out, waiting for Reyna to finish off the Zanyas and ends up knocking him down. Then the teleport comes in to make sure that Seros is there to help save his bot lane. Unfortunately, not going to be able to save the Taric, but a small price to pay.
さあそしてリプレイの間にどうやらミッドのアウタータワーをデトネーションフォーカスに獲得に成功したようです。
そしてこうなると、やはりリバーの視界のコントロールでフォーカスミーが圧倒していく形になりますから、リフトヘラルド
V3 Esports are currently doing a good job of just trying to keep the losses minimum, but that is not how you pull ahead in a game like this, and DFM are just eking it out of them slow and steady. There's no need to really rush anything anymore. And without reliable engage outside of a Shurima shuffle, it's kind of okay to play things slow. First two turrets in the pocket of DFM. Second Rift Herald, also soon to follow. DFM have everything they could want and more, as Seros will be playing under turret here. Ultimate use just to keep Boogie at bay, as his team secures the Rift Herald and looks towards the mid lane. Udapon will be here to collect that wave, as Boogie stealing away a couple camps. Does need to be careful. The rest of DFM are here. Tunnels out to safety, so dodges out on that one, as looks like Trundle rotating up to the top side here to spawn the Rift Herald. Playing back and forth towards it. Knows he needs to be here for a fight if one breaks out. A good pillar kind of divides the team here, but not exactly easy to hard engage into a Zillion, who can play so very defensively. Now for DFM, well, for V3, in actuality, what is your out in this situation? What is your way back into this game? And it's really that Archer, although behind, is not deathly behind in this kind of a game. Still can get towards that Runaan's Hurricane before any next objective takes her up, and that is going to be your window that you need to execute cleanly on a fight if you want to be able to pull this out. And I worry after saying that sentence when I look at Archer and we say you have to be clean. There is little room for error left in this kind of a series. Your tournament life is on the line. You can't have Archer playing as far up and aggressive as he has been past in this series.
となると V3 スポーツとしては最悪渡してもいいかなということですね。
DFM are going to try and push in here. Still have a Rift Herald in their back pocket, so Steel still has opportunities to use that. Might be throwing that bot lane to try and crack down that last turret, see if they can open up the map a little bit more. And it looks like they are looking down here towards Paz, who is trying to stay under turret, but needs to back away sooner rather than later, and will do just that. Here DFM come to collect the last of the outer turrets before looking at this Cloud Drake, looking at Cloud Soul potentially. And if you are V3 Esports, this is not an objective you are willing to fight over. You can pretty safely pass over the Cloud Soul and not have too much to worry about. But V3 Esports setting up a bush of death, and Steel, a good ward will block him right out of that one as nothing even lands on Steel. Regarding that one, a good amount of flamethrower damage coming from Archer. Will push out Udapon and Gang, but Gang with a couple heals will keep his team in it. Slow onto Steel, the stun is good, but nothing that V3 can really hard engage off of. they have the engaged tools. The problem is that they do not have the damage to follow up on it once they do. And now, Saros off to the side lane is going to get soloed out between Boogie and Ace. A great shuffle to try to get out of that one, but Ace will find him over the wall with a bomb. Now pause. In between everyone is going to try to get a good knockup going with his ultimate as Boogie comes around the flank here. Yutapon and Gang walking out towards the top side, reconvening with Steel over on this side. Ace coming around the flank here. Yutapon flashes onto him, but barely does not get out in time. Ace with the flash for flash. Steel now moving forward on the pause, trying to see if he can beat him down before he is forced to flash away. Gang flashing out of that one. A lot of flashes over this wall, but Yutapon's bullet time will bring one more down. That is going to be 2 falling on the side of V3 Esports. And Saros the only one to have fallen on DFM side. Now, teleport coming back. Ace is ready and willing. He is back to full HP. And it looks like DFM are willing to take the gamble on this Drake. And V3 are going to back away.
そしてここでエビもテレポートを使って合流、そのままドレイクを獲得。クラウドソウルです。
Cloud Drake Soul given over to V3 now.
このクラウドソウル、移動速度の増加。
Really is just kind of one more step along the path to getting towards those later end buffs, so not exactly too terribly useful, but still a nice option to have, especially Steel can use the movement speed buff as well as Gang. Some Gang can sort of get in a bit easier utilizing the ultimate and then queuing up for a stun. But V3 really need to tighten things up. Going 1 for 2 there is a good start for getting some gold back into your pockets, but trades like that are not going to benefit them in this situation at all. Spoogie's going to be zoned out of his own jungle here. Not that there's any camps to be taken. Yutapon caught out alone. He will be going down here as Boogie's going to solo him out. No, he goes golden in time. Will they be able to save him? Not likely. Spoogie's going to pick up a good shutdown there. A hefty amount of gold given over to him. In that scenario, I would actually like to see the gold given over to Archer there, as he is the one you sort of need to be putting back into, but either way, DFM, an unfortunate death there, as Yutapon goes down for ultimately rather free, but it looks like V3 are starting up Baron in Yutapon's absence, and understandably so. It looks like Saros is going to cancel the TP in time. Good use of the ultimate there, and now he has TP advantage if he wants to make his way back over. Baron at about, looks like 3k HP over there. The ultimate from DFM comes in, and Archer is going to be the first to fall. Has a GA to revive. Ace looking for anything he can do in this fight, but now that he has expended his usefulness, it's all on Archer, who is stuck in the pit taking damage. The Lantern will pull him out to safety, but really will only pull him into the arms of DFM. 4 men strong and a clean sweep on that Baron. 3 are lost on the side of V3 Esports. Their Baron attempts dashed, and that might have just been the nail in the coffin for V3 Esports. A desperate Baron call, which understandably so, you need to make that call, but the fight became too disjointed, and V3 were not able to muster up enough of a really fighting force. Especially once Ornn is cut off there, it's so difficult for V3 to find a good fight. Gang uses the ultimate going in, and Evi is just really just all in onto Archer there with nowhere for him to go. As he gets backed into the pit by himself, Baron is just beating on him the whole time, while the rest of his team is just one by one is falling to the side of DFM. And DFM, Soul in their pocket, now Baron to boot. They can walk pretty safely forward and siege down this game. DFM would be happy to put a repeat performance on. As they knock down an outer turret, they're going to look for the next one here. Evi looking to harass with some Qs. Seros thinking about going up to the top side, but really pressuring the mid lane turret seems to be the play for them. As Seros trying to walk in and auto up the turret, as he'll dash out to safety, take a little bit of damage for it, but nothing too concerning, as he'll go up and try and get the mid lanes, the top lane pushing in as well. The 1-3-1 coming out here is Gang and Utapon will hang out in this mid lane for now, pushing in as many waves as they can. Seros will be all up on this turret, and there is just not enough members of V3 Esports to defend from this one. Rotating now to the top side, they're going to put pressure there, as Steel will put pressure into the mid lane now. V3 Esports can take and engage onto the top side of DFM, but do they have the tools necessary? While Paz is busy dealing with Evi in the bottom side. 3 inhib turrets down now. And will DFM be able to use the last 40 seconds of this Baron to knock out any inhibitors? It would open up their Elder take a whole lot more if they're able to do so. But V3 know this. Now the ultimate comes in. Gang will be the one who's knocked up for that one. And the re-engage is on. The bullet time shredding through V3. And they haven't even used the Cosmic Radiance yet. Only now coming in as they send all of their team directly into the hearts of V3 Esports. But a great play from Archer is getting a lot of damage out of the Severum. But here comes Gnar. Ultimate not going to stun him up, but it does not matter as he is going to go down. The Zillion ult not going to save him in the end. This is DFM series to take. 3-1 in DFM's favor. This is going to be all she wrote. A great series on both accounts. There were moments where V3 Esports were really looking like a commanding team, and were really in contention for those first 2 games, but it seemed almost as if their mental deteriorated over time, and just they were not able to keep standing up to DFM, especially when DFM pick the champions that are in their wheelhouse. They play to their groove, to their comfort. And it's a song we've seen DFM sing a number of times, but once more into the breach they go and come out victorious. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Those of you that are still here, the late night grinders, I do really honestly appreciate you guys hanging out. If you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter. I will be going live again tomorrow for the finals, so do keep an eye out for that, as well as I upload all of these to my YouTube. If you would like, I'll link that on my Twitter, and we can look out for that. My Twitter DMs are always open in case you would like to leave me any feedback, or if you just like to say hi. I'm always happy to talk with you guys. And in the end of all of this, just once again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this series. I know I sure did. I will be Dr. No signing off from today's games.